Alright, let me set the scene. For the last century, an evil king has been building an army in the secluded land of Morkel, a burnt and desolate land that even the holy knights are forbidden to enter. You have all received a mysterious letter from a stranger, asking you to meet him and discuss the growing threat. You have all made your way to the designated meeting place, a small tavern on the edge of... Really? A tavern? Yeah, man, you couldn't be any less creative. What? I put a lot of time into... Yeah, right. You're starting us in a tavern. That's like the most cliche thing you can do. But come on, man. I bet John's game has a cooler start. Yeah, let's go join his game. Look, I get it. Taverns are one of, if not the most common way to start a D&D game, to the point where it's become a bit of a meme. Some people even try to blast it on Reddit as a bad game start, and that simply isn't true. Taverns are cool. I may be a bit biased, but I think starting in a tavern is actually a great beginning to a game, assuming you do it right. Now, to get this out of the way, yes, you can absolutely have a bad start in a tavern. Simply saying, "You're all drinking in a tavern, what do you do?" with no story to build off of can be, well, boring. If you're just hoping that the party will become fast friends and go skipping off to the bounty board, then you and the players will likely be disappointed. 1, players rarely do exactly what you expect them to, and 2, players like direction. No, I don't mean railroading, I mean direction. They need to have a reason to be in the tavern. They need to have somewhere to go from there, and above all, they need to feel like there's more to the start than cliches and ale. So how exactly do you make an original and engaging start to a D&D game using a tavern? Well, I thought you'd never ask, even though I asked. I'm the you in this conversation, you get it. Well, for starters, let's skip the start for now. In my opinion, the key to a good start in D&D, regardless of the location, is to have a quick segue into the actual plot. You don't have to railroad them straight to the castle to take up a quest, but you can absolutely inject the plot into that tavern like it's a fresh marinated turkey leg with a side of potatoes for only 6 copper pieces. Stop that! Figure out what happens in the tavern, or whatever other starting location you're using, that will introduce the players to the plot and immerse them right away. Maybe they hear a scream outside, followed by a woman opening the door and being followed in by a pack of imps. This quickly takes it from pure roleplay to combat, with the added stakes of innocent people nearby. You know, talking about steaks, we have a great garlic seared steak on the menu that— I said stop it! Players who don't particularly like roleplay or aren't that experienced in it might enjoy the quick jump into combat, and you could absolutely put some reason to it. Like maybe some cultists opened a rift to the hells in the town, and this imp fight is only the beginning. However, don't completely nix the idea of roleplay, because some people really like it. And if you're running a mystery and intrigue themed game, you could double down on the roleplay by introducing the plot more subtly. Maybe someone enters the tavern asking for one of the player characters by name, and when that party member speaks up, the figure hands them a letter requesting their presence at a nearby lord's estate. The player has no clue who this person is or why they've been summoned, and the party must go investigate this and find out what's going on. Upon arrival, they may find the lord has been murdered and the player was just set up to take the fall. Now the question is why, and how does it really connect to the player character? Now that we've got the plot, we can actually start on the start. Don't just say you're all in a tavern for some reason. Figure out why each person is there. This could be done by talking with them and figuring it out with their involvement, or just by reading up on their backstories and making good reasons from that. A noble knight might be working in the town and stationed to keep watch over the tavern because a high-profile citizen is coming by, and the king doesn't want anything bad happening to them. A skilled bard could be passing through town and stopped in to trade stories and song for dinner and a room, and a rogue could be there to meet a fence and sell a less than legally obtained item. These are pretty basic as far as reasoning goes, but even something as little as this would work to immerse the players into the setting. You could go as far as, the warlock is here because their patron wants them to spy on this specific person and steal this specific ancient tome from them, or something super detailed, but you don't have to. In fact, while detail is good, I'd refrain from taking too much control from the players. After all, details are immersive, but taking control of their characters is a quick way to pull them out of the game. It's also important to know why people gathered in taverns so much. Sure, it may just seem like another restaurant, but taverns historically have been much more than that. Taverns used to be one of the only public places that people could meet, even late at night. Sure, you could just bump into each other on the road, but that's hardly a hangout spot. Taverns provided food, drinks, and entertainment all under one roof. And that was, and still is, something that draws people to them. Throw in a couple of rooms upstairs for rent, and you've got yet another reason for people to be there, especially if they're not from the same town that tavern is in. Now that you've got the reason and the plot, you can work on the actual setting. Don't just say, you're in a tavern, describe it. Describe the old creaky floorboard groaning under the heavy footsteps of the party's barbarian, or describe how the establishment is kept remarkably clean despite the constant crowd. You can describe the smell of fresh tavern meals causing the characters' stomachs to rumble, or the sound of patrons being dulled by the enthralling music performance by a couple of bards by the hearth. This dips more into a how to describe things in D&D topic, which is probably best saved for a video all in itself. But you get the idea. Don't just say they're in a tavern, put them there. So now you've got your setting, your plot, and the reasons for the individual characters being there. Where do you go from here? Well, that's kind of up to you and your players. The players may decide to play some dice and drink the night away, or they may immediately jump to your plot thread. Or, and get used to this, they may completely ignore your plot thread and jump onto something completely different. Sure, those imps were a compelling encounter, but hey, didn't the DM randomly say that a couple of hooded people were discussing something in whispers earlier? Better track those guys down and figure out what they're up to. And you're off. While you can rarely predict what the players will do, you can at least give them a solid setting and fitting meeting place to start their journey. Yes, meeting in a tavern is cliche, but as I like to say, things are cliche for a reason. Starting in a tavern wouldn't have become a meme if it wasn't commonly used, and it wouldn't be commonly used if it wasn't a great way to start a game. As long as you can make it unique, engaging, and fun, that's all that matters, regardless of how you choose to start your adventure. And that's probably enough raving about taverns for the day. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to let me know in the comments, and if you have anybody giving you crap for starting in a tavern, send them this video with this timestamp. Hey, this is your friendly tavern keep. Your DM sent you this because you made fun of them for starting their game in a tavern. You, booked a room upstairs. I know where you sleep. I have spare keys for every room. You'd better have someone on watch tonight. Anyway, thank you guys for watching this video, and if you liked it, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos like this, along with D&D stories and other RPG content, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see all of you wonderful tavern folk in the next video. I mean it, Jeremy. I have keys to every room. You can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave. He was like, guys, can you not see how bad of an idea this is? We don't know what happened to these guys. They're not anchored. They're a fishing vessel way far away from shore where they should be. And there's no signs of anything here. We should not go into this. And the rest of them were like, but what if they're in trouble? What if there's loot here? You don't know.
They all know that they're dead. They're like,
all
yep,
know
they're dead. But they're like, hey,
they just want the monster fight. They get to see what monster.
I wanted to see
is.
what the DM
I was
put in there.
so happy that they did because